Hello and welcome to this episode 228 of Frame and Reference. You're about to drop into a conversation between me, Kenny McMillan, and my guest Ruairi O'Brien, DP of Eternity. Enjoy.
There was a funny thing. So I was 2 years behind Robbie Ryan in college, and Robbie moved to London.
I just had him on.
He's great. Yeah, he's great.
It's wonderful.
Lovely. So I'm 2 years behind Robbie in college. He moves to London. His career takes off. Brilliant. And while I was in Ireland, because I was 2 years behind him, there's lots of when we were both doing shorts, it was we couldn't get Robbie. Are you available? I became the cheap Robbie Ryan. And then I moved to London. It was oh, you're Irish. Do you know Robbie Ryan? I'm yeah, I know Robbie. And it kind of dogged me for years. And then it sort of went away. I built my own career. And then I was joining a local cinema. You get the membership for the year. And the guy said, name. I said, Ruairi O'Brien. He goes, Robbie Ryan. I'm I'm not Robbie Ryan.
I was just reading a bunch of stuff about people asking how to start their careers. And it is funny how you kind of just have to do it yourself. And even something as innocuous as the place you're from or the college you went to can somehow help or interfere with it. There's no answer.
No. And everyone goes in their own path because, you come out of film school and there were people who were ahead of me whose career taking off. And I was well, why aren't you getting me on board? And it's it took you a while to realize DPs don't hire other DPs when you're doing a commercial or a music video. It's a lonely path you have to forge for a while.
Yeah. That was such a hard lesson to learn. Not only do DPs not hire, you're well, can't I just AC for you? And they're no, I'm going to get an AC. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's not
you don't know how to do it.
Weird mental. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a focus motor? No.
Yeah. I still I don't know how to put a camera together. I worked with a second AC, and he used to say to me in the morning, we build the camera. I'll be no, hands off. It's not we'll give it to you when it's ready. You'll only break it. Yeah.
As someone who basically had to learn everything so I could do it myself so that I could make it look like I knew what I was doing. There was a lot of manufactured skill at the beginning. I really got excited when I got to start letting someone else build the camera, letting someone else set up the lights. Oh my God. Right. What a dream. I don't find excitement in doing it myself anymore.
No, the other side of it is I got a job. I was asked to go to Rwanda for a documentary for 3 days and little tiny things. So I went to this rental house where I work 24/7 and I said, can you give me any camera, whatever you've got? We'll give you an mirror, put a zoom lens on, build the whole thing, little package, it'll basically all go in a bag. And I said, look, because I'm not an AC, I know the battery goes in the back and the lens goes in the front, but what else do I need to know? I haven't downloaded stuff or whatever. They talked me through it and they said, the thing remember is, there's the power button, you got to hold it in for 5 seconds, turn it off and all that. So I get in the plane, go to Rwanda, there's a problem with the batteries, a bit of stress, get to the hotel, and that night we have dinner and I go, I check the camera to be sure. Hold the button in, camera turns on and off. Try it again, camera just won't power up. And it's now midnight in Rwanda. And there's no one to call in Rwanda. And no one's awake in the UK. Who's awake? Well, Australia will be. I'm trying to call Australia. I can't get a line. I try to call America, Panavision LA. Because, in the end, my friend Graham, who rented the camera, I get him at 7:30 in the morning. I've emailed the producer, said there may be a problem with the camera. And they've already told me there are no other cameras in Rwanda available. Graham's well, what are you doing? I said, well, it's here in front of me. He said, okay, hold the button. I'm holding it for 5 seconds. He said, no, that's to turn it off. Turn it on, you hold it for 1 second. You're an idiot. I'm oh, okay. So I turned to breakfast with no sleep saying, camera's fine. I'm not fine, but the camera's fine.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of doc myself, more than anything recently. And very quickly learned how many backups I should have of everything. Because I'm also doing, this is the other side of the coin of I get to hand off things. Now in the documentaries, I have to do everything again. So it's how many ways can I record audio? I have a spreadsheet. If a camera goes down, what can I do? If I forget media, SD cards are so small that, you just forget. Thank God this thing exists, this little Pelican, but even this is lose it. But yeah, how many ways can I record audio? How many ways can I light something? How many ways can I record something? And then like
Yeah.
what's it called? The pay system: primary, auxiliary, contingency, emergency.
Wow.
So I have 4 options, and emergency is iPhone for all of them.
Yeah.
It's good enough
Well,
now.
hey, listen, it absolutely is. It's amazing. Um, that whole thing. I remember doing documentaries, and we were in rural Australia with a little Sony PD-150. I was doing camera and sound, and we get to the middle of nowhere, and the sound wasn't working. Couldn't hear anything on the cans. Said to the director, look, I don't know, it's the cans themselves or it's the camera, but we're going to do the camera. He went, for rural Australia, we're here for 3 days. There's no other camera. Like, but what have we done with sound? Are you seeing the little levels thing up and down? Yeah. So you got pictures? Yeah. We said, well, all about this. What about listen with your ears? See, we're in the middle of nowhere. So if you hear a dog barking, we'll stop. If you're playing over, otherwise it's going to be fine. So that's what we just did.
Yeah. Did it turn out okay?
It was fine, yeah. Because again, you're in the middle of nowhere. So if you don't really hear something, it's fine. It's not like shooting on a noisy street.
I was going to say, if you hear an airplane, it's probably not, they're probably coming for you.
Exactly. Yeah. To rescue you because it's the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. When did you, because you used to do commercials, right?
No, the total opposite. I could never, ever, ever crack commercials. And I tried. I called, I begged.
Bad research.
It's all right. No, commercials is like a locked door. And then I got asked to do a short about 3 years ago for this young director, and the commercials company were producing something for her. And they got me in to meet her. And I was like, look, this is great. I'd love to work with you and with her. But her regular DP is really good. Like, I know he hasn't done movies in long form, but he's good. So like, I just don't want to be imposed on anyone. No, you're great. He's a commercial guy. You're a drama guy. The thing about you drama guys is you don't make things look very good. I'm like, yeah. Then they sort of backpedaled. I'm like, oh, you want to look not very good. I don't know what that meant. Not too or something. But so yeah, commercials have really eluded me. And I would love to. But I love the idea of, 1 week you're doing black and white, next week you're doing high speed, the next week you're doing landscapes, and then.
You know what it was? Is my brain combined reading about some like 2.5 page 1 hour shoot you did with fast pacedness, and then I went to commercials.
Yeah, we did the thing with Jude Law. We had him for an hour, and it was supposed to be in a crashing car, and it was an ad for a play he was in. It was great fun, actually. It was like basically everything it said to him was, we'll need a big studio to shoot this in. We got like a little tiny box, like someone's living room. We need this, don't have it, I need that. And actually, I was really happy how it turned out in the end. I think, I quite like being challenged by things going wrong.
I've said this before. I don't love when things go wrong, but I do love when your choices become limited and everyone sees, like if your choices become limited and you're the only one who knows, you look like a failure. But if everyone knows that you don't have a choice, then it's like, well, decisions got a lot easier.
Guy's a hero.
Yeah. I
just love all that, like limitations just give you creativity. I did a film recently in Ireland, and like the second scene is a guy in a military helicopter in the 80s, and the producer's like, we can't get a helicopter. There's only one period helicopter. It's in a museum. It's going to take too long to get there. It's going to wreck the schedule. Can we make it a Jeep or something? And the director's going, no, like a Jeep has no presence or drama. It's got to be a helicopter. Anyway, in the end, I was like, can we get a van, get like a Mercedes van, strip it out, put some seats in, put a green screen outside. Like a helicopter's just a box, right? You open the side door. So that's what we did. And suddenly this thing was going to cost, I don't know, like 10 grand, cost 500.
Oh, because the van has a door on either side. You can shoot. That's great.
It's really simple, Bunch of guys in uniform. Problem solved. And I'm much more into those really simple. Like, I love when it feels like you're playing in the garden with your 9-year-old friends making a treehouse. That's much more fun than the big logistical stuff. Yeah.
Did you, when you were in like film school and stuff, were you also the type of person that was like learning everything, or did you narrow in on cinematography like off rip?
I came to film school to be a screenwriter. That was it. That's what I was going to do. And this other student, a guy called James Mather, literally went one day, hang on, hold this light, do this, do that. Now go over there and do it. And I just revealed it to me, like, this is much more exciting. So I'm like, yeah, this is great. Literally, it was like a complete U-turn. So I'm kind of an accidental DP. And then I met up with this guy, James Mather, recently. I hadn't seen him in a few years. And we sat down for coffee and he just said to me, haven't we got the best job in the world? And he's still really passionate about it 30 years later. It's great. You know?
Yeah. How are you keeping, I don't know about how it is over there, but it's a little dire in Los Angeles right now. Are you keeping that passion, or is it seeming?
It's funny. I shot Eternity. I'm like, okay, I've arrived. Just bring me the scripts now. I'm ready. Tumbleweeds. I had a really slow, like 8 months. And then I did a small show in Ireland with a friend of mine. I did a movie in Belfast. And now it's kind of picking up again. But like 2024 was not the year, or 2025 was not the year I expected it to be. It was humbling. But it's, James McMillan got the Oscar for The Godfather and then didn't work for 5 years.
I always wonder about how the, you do something big. Like, obviously, you work at, you rise to the level that you're competent, right? And then at some point you break through that ceiling. And then the question becomes, do the people who you used to work for not want to hire you because now they think you're too expensive?
Yeah, I know.
The people up there think you're too cheap, or that's such a weird little fuzzy area to navigate that I have not reached.
Well, it's funny because, you've got your agent saying, well, they're only offering this much and you're worth more. You're like, sure, but the guys who should be paying more haven't called this week. And, yeah. And also, I just like shooting. Like, I would rather shoot something great for no money. Obviously, there's bills to pay, but I just want to do great stuff. Like when the Eternity script came, I read it and I said to David, I will turn down everything that comes along to do this. And every job that came in, I was like, it's got to check in with David. I was like, I've been offered this 6-month job for Disney. David, shall I turn it down? He's like, take the job. Yeah. And then last year, before we made it, I was up for a few jobs and I kind of did these lackluster interviews. And I think because I just knew I wasn't really, I was excited for Eternity and everything else was second best. So I was just hanging on for it to start.
Yeah. Like I said, man, like I went in basically cold and left it just like so happy and like, had a roller coaster of emotions. It didn't end where I thought it was going to end, which I was like, oh, we get bonus time. We're going into overtime. This is cool. It's shot well. Like I can't imagine what being handed us kind of a, not even a diamond in the rough, just like a diamond script where you're like, oh, this is actually, because the idea is so simple and then the execution is phenomenal.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, you get it and you could take it in so many different directions. But I'd worked with David before and I know his films always just look and feel, well, the two we've done just feel really effortless. Like I think most people will not notice my work. They'll be like, oh, they just happened to be in a nice place. Oh, the light was nice that day. Like I always think the best cinematography looks lucky. It doesn't look skillful. Oh, those guys just happened to be fishing in that, stream as the sun went down, So there's a lot of stuff where we just knew with David, I can be patient. Just for this scene, we can just do it this way. And he's not going to demand a ridiculous amount of shots that are impossible. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Are you guys like heavy, it's like there's two types of people. There's shot listers and storyboarders, or I guess the magical third of Barry Ackroyd, which is just like show up and figure it out. But,
it's funny. Like our initial conversations weren't about photography. All it was like the tone of the story. And I was like, is this a Billy Wilder film? Like, yes, it is. Okay, great. And we very gradually honed in on things. And then we went to Vancouver. When I got there, the designer's already on board. So she'd done lots of work.
That was Zazu Myers.
Zazu Myers, who's terrific, But like we didn't storyboard that much. And the whole archive tunnel sequence where they go and they see their memories for who hadn't seen it, like you literally go in and relive your past by watching plays of your own life, was weirdly logistical because the stand-ins had to wear the actors' costumes and you can't take costume of one person or another, like the wedding has to be dry cleaned. So suddenly like a 2-shot scene has to be shot in 2 different days and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of the trickiest thing, even though it's just people standing looking at each other. We had to kind of storyboard that whole thing out. I don't think there were any other storyboards apart from the FX stuff.
Yeah, how much So the only problem with me going in to watch that movie without consciously, well, this is a problem and a gift, without consciously knowing I was going to interview, is I wasn't sitting there taking notes, which kind of sucks because sometimes I go see a movie and I just want to enjoy it, and I have to stop myself from getting invested in the film so I can focus on the camera work, which is like the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Totally.
So my memory of the camera work and all that is fuzzy, but it wasn't entirely obviously you had like paint outs, or not paint outs, but set extensions and stuff, but
there were some set extensions and that was it. And really, and then there's like a thing where Miles Teller looks over a balcony and there's a guy being tackled 9 floors below.
Right. Yeah.
Set extension-y stuff, but really simple, which meant like the VFX in the film are seamless for the most part because they can just concentrate on doing very straightforward stuff. And there's very little tricky stuff in it. Like the photography is not flashy. I'm seeing people online saying, "Oh, the grade is great and the design is great," and they're not talking about cinematography. I'm kind of pleased. I just want it to be like just another thread in the fabric.
Yeah, as someone who does, I've said a handful of times on this podcast that I need to get off the internet because, as you know, the cinematography subreddit sometimes is like banging your head against a nail. How do you, when you see like, you probably see more than most reports on your work because you have that proximity to Reddit. Like, is that a healthy relationship, or do you go like, we're not on Reddit this month?
I haven't really looked on Reddit to see what I don't see anything about cinematography. I saw some comments of the film generally, but I looked on Letterboxd.
Oh, sure.
But it's really interesting because the responses are incredibly emotional. People saying, "I just cried and I laughed and I cried some more," which is great. That's what you want. Like, for me, the magic of cinema is not the spaceships. Like, the most amazing thing I've seen in the cinema is kind of probably E.T., because grown men cry over a lump of latex. We all know it's latex. We still all cry. And that's the thing you're trying to achieve, really.
Yeah. I definitely, I got some free moisturizer in the film for sure.
Well, it's funny. I brought like one of my best friends and we started off together 25 years ago making films. And weirdly, our dads knew each other. They're both actors. And when I asked my dad, he's like, "We had our first play together." And not only have to play the same character, they played 2 halves of the same giant. So this guy and I were kind of in this shared history, this, shared careers. And I brought him to the movie last week and I turned to the end and he's just like big tears running down his face and he couldn't speak. He said to me afterwards, he goes, "Your film's so moving." We said, "It's also really moving because I know how hard it is to make a good movie. And this is like a really great movie." And it's like the highest compliment.
Yeah. The thing that I find great is, speaking of like the cinematography being kind of invisible, is you do just get to let the script speak and the actors act. And I loved Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers. Getting her back, I was like, because again, I didn't really know anything about the film. She pops out and I went, yes, like. Very excited to see her.
She is great. And it's funny because when you're shooting her, first 3 takes, she's warming up, and then take 4, it's like she suddenly comes alive. It's amazing. It's like, after a while, you're just waiting because she's just going to use a few to kind of get her feet wet. And then she comes alive and she's so good. And every take is different and it gets better and better. But you could just shoot her all day,
Yeah.
But to be fair, I think all the performers are really good.
Oh, yeah.
I think Elizabeth Olsen is phenomenal. She kind of holds the whole film. And it's funny, like, I'm not really good on actors are because I have no control over it. It's obviously producers and directors are very excited to get this person, that person. And when I told my agent, Amber, who's in the film, her exact words were, "Holy shit." I was like, "What, are they big?" She goes, "You don't know who they are?" I was like, "Well, I don't think I know who they are." But they were like, every day was great. You just watch them do their thing. And like, I always think the measure of a great actor is what they can do with a really sort of conventional, boring line, If those guys anything to do, they'll just make it interesting. Like that film, there is a version of that film with lesser actors that becomes very hallmarky and very twee.
Yes.
And
Well, and so that's actually perfect where I was kind of headed initially was because you're kind of put in a interesting situation as a DP because a lot of this film, the majority of this film, takes place in an artificial, no sun, room.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you did that when that tell me, did that make it harder to lean into the emotion of the scene without being able to light emotionally, or was it kind of like a hey, we just get to place cameras because it's all overhead?
Yeah. Well, it was like, it's one
And
of those
how'd
things
you
like,
keep it from looking artificial too? Because that's the other thing. It has to look artificial enough to make sense for the where they
yeah,
are, but not enough that it looks
like in a
fake.
supermarket. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it was hard. I mean, I would have
Mm.
loved to have had a bit more kind of control with all that. But, there's a schedule to hit. You're basically lighting a set the size of a football stadium. Like I went in, also the ceiling in that studio is only like 36 feet high. So basically the lights are sitting on the set. So when I first heard about it, I'm like, this isn't going to work. I'm like, well, it's up to you to make it work. Um, so yeah, it's tricky, but you put a very soft top light in and you just fill and add contrast as you go. Um, what's weird is the hardest thing was there's a red carpet on that floor and you get all this red, angry fill into those faces. So I was constantly, moving bits of white sheet around just to try and manage that.
Yeah.
Because literally they'd be like, nice healthy skin tone from above, and then there's like kind of angry beetroot complexion underneath.
It is unfortunate because now you just made me think of some. Recently, there's been a lot of, again, this is internet talk, but I want, and you know what? Sorry, too many thoughts at once. I've seen a lot of folks talking about this, quote unquote Netflix look, or how things are too dark when too on TikTok. Even there's armchair experts talking about how cinematographers are lazy now and colorists are just everything is done so that they can change it in post. And it's like, well, this movie was shot pretty, at least for the majority of it, pretty even, like you're saying, even soft things that people seem to not like. And yet it looks phenomenal. And people have said it looks phenomenal. So it's like now they might be a little right if it is like, if that's what's happening. Maybe there is a problem. But you guys did it well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it all depends. I guess it's all down to, firstly, as a DP, you can only be as good as the director lets you be. Right? That's what my girlfriend points out.
And the colorist sometimes.
Yeah, but like the colorists can only work with what they receive.
Right.
A DP can only do what they're allowed to. If you're told everything is 3 cameras all the time and, it's kind of impossible. Like one thing in this was we were 90% single camera, which really helps. And David's good and decisive. And we're not doing, 360 moves all the time. So you can go, the light is going to come from over there and we'll have some contrast. It doesn't always get a lot of contrast just for it to feel like there's modeling on the face. So yeah, you can do it. I think like we've all seen beautiful pictures that are soft and kind of even, but they're still beautiful. We've all seen really interesting contrasty pictures that still aren't pleasing to the eye because whatever their graphic quality isn't quite working or, so yeah, and that whole thing with the Netflix look, yeah, there's a look, there's always a look, isn't there? There's always like every era has a look.
Yeah. Well, and also I hate that people ascribe it to Netflix. I think it's just because that's where there's the most movies coming out. So people see like, my theory is that the barometer for low quality, and I don't mean that like pejoratively, I mean like low budget, is so much higher that when you see a lot of low budget stuff that looks pretty good enough that you would assume it had a higher budget, you think that that's what's happening, Yeah.
Yeah. And then you find out someone shot this thing in 15 days and you go, wow, it actually looks phenomenal considering.
Yeah.
I mean, it is one of those things that we forget, like how far we come. Like this whole thing that people used to look down on TV because it looked cheap. Everything on TV looks great now. There are no bad looking shows.
Yeah.
No matter what.
If anything, TV's gotten way more expensive.
Yeah, but like everything looks good. Even if you're shooting crazy schedules, there's definitely an elevated standard to stuff that just didn't. Back in the days of things being shot in 16 mil and kind of doing a really quick transfer and stick it on TV, and that was it. Like everything looks good now. Everything gets a proper grade, pretty much.
Did I'm a big like Doctor Who fan, for instance, and a handful of other British television that made its way over here in the early 2000s, and learning about shooting over in the UK and adjacent areas, and seeing especially a lot of that early BBC, even Monty Python or whatever, whenever they went outside, dealing with a lot of that. It's going to be overcast. Did shooting in that environment for so long like teach you something that made turning a frown upside down, so to speak?
Well, the thing about shooting in Ireland is it's not that it's overcast, it's that it changes all the time. A friend of mine was working on a film with a Serbian DP, and he said one day he just started like shouting. He lost his mind. He's like, every 20 minutes it's different weather. You're like, come from Serbia, where I know you're like, well, it'll be sunny from April till October, and then it'll be a bit cloudy, and it'll be snowy. Like, so and what I've actually learned is it doesn't matter that much. I don't mean it doesn't matter. I mean, I remember shooting a scene over 2 days, and we had sun, cloud, rain, some with wet ground, some with dry ground, and you kind of just shoot through it. And once you've cut it together, pour a bit of music over the top, grade it nicely, you get away with a huge amount. Yeah. So I think actually it's much harder in sunny countries to get that really, really harsh top light.
Yeah.
That's tricky, but I guess you just stick a topper over it. But then I'm like, oh, but then you can't move the actors that much because they're stuck under the square.
And you have to, at least my experience in Los Angeles on a lower budget, short or 3, you not only can you not move them, but if you're kind of limited on your focal length, because any wider than a certain amount and you see the edge of the frame and how hot the ground is next to it, and no amount of like tree pieces will fix it.
This is not a problem we ever have,
Yeah. I did actually want to ask, we were speaking about Zazu earlier. What was your collaboration with her like? Because obviously it's very colorful, saturated film. I know you guys pointed to like The Graduate as being both like colorful and sort of dirty a little bit. And I think that does help stave off that Hallmark thing. But like, what did you have a lot of discussions with the production designer about what to do and like where you wanted stuff and all that?
Absolutely. I mean, I try, if I can, on projects to move into the designer's office. They give you like an office for the DP, off to the designer. I quite often say, I'm just going to sit beside you and I know you. And if you're in the art department, something that someone told me once is, you overhear a lot of stuff. Someone goes, oh, yeah, we're not building that set. What do you mean we're not building that set? Oh, yeah, we're not building that set. No one bothers to tell you this stuff. I was talking to the director this week, and he said, if you want to know what's going on, ask the drivers. He said he was being driven to work one day, and this driver said something about them not shooting a scene. He's like, what do you mean we're not shooting the scene? He goes, oh, they've cut that scene. The director was like, I'm the director. No one's talking about cutting the scene. The driver's like, oh, yeah, that's gone. I wouldn't ask you. So, being able to just be around and hear what's going on, because things go through the cracks, it's not intentional. So I like to be in the designer's office where possible, and then just bouncing ideas. And, very often you're not obviously dictating things, but you're just hearing what's in their head, and it informs your decisions.
Yeah.
And the designer will say, well, do we like the curve or the straight edge, or do we like the orange or the red, all that stuff? And just by building all those tiny thoughts, you arrive at something eventually, But when I got there, we talked about films like The Graduate, Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which is this French musical, and a few different things. And we got the reshot tests, and we've found the right colorist. This guy called David Tomiak in Vancouver who's terrific. So we went to a bunch of colorists, and they showed us stuff, but we got exactly what we wanted out of the tests. Like within a few minutes, we're like, yeah, he's got it. And he was a great collaborator. So we built the look we wanted with him, and we did a lot of work to really make it feel like film, just in terms of how we applied grain and softness and elevation and all that kind of stuff. And it's fooled a lot of people. I did an interview with someone recently, and they're like, tell me about going back to shoot on film. We didn't shoot on film. I'm glad I fooled you, but
Yeah. You know what? I think that kind of question, I think, comes from the fact that you guys did go more saturated, deeper, very, very,
Yeah.
in colorist terms, subtractive saturation, a lot of density. And I think people, that's one of those, like, they see something that looks really nice and luscious, and their brain goes, that must be film.
Yeah, absolutely. That and like the softness and the grain, like it's a little bit of each thing gives you this cumulative effect. It's not one individual piece. And how you light the lenses,
the
I think
lenses
as well,
did have a little bit of character.
Yeah, they're just hawks.
Oh, nice.
Lovely, yeah. But they were lovely, but we could have shot it on Atlases or I guess Panavision or like each thing is only X important. Like I do think the colorist is more important than the lenses. People always ask about lenses. Yeah, they're important, but I'd fight much harder to get a good colorist than to get a particular set of lenses. Because they have so much more of an effect on your final film.
I was just last night, I do a freelance coloring on the side, but obviously I color a lot of my own stuff, which has gotten me in trouble because I'll start shooting in a certain way and realize I'm not the colorist and go, oh, I need to fix that on set. But to your point about lens choice and stuff, like there are so many tools now where you can very realistically emulate halation lens choices. This guy just came out with this thing called Lens Node, where he modeled like a whole handful of lenses. And as far as I can tell, it's pretty accurate. And then accuracy is always like, okay, well, I'm not A-Bing it. No one's ever going to A-B it against the real thing.
Yeah.
Does it look realistic as a lens simulation, not to this specific thing or whatever? But I was working, Resolve has, is free or $400, whatever. Mm. And there's this like haze plugin or like
I've heard of this. Yeah.
Dude, it like with when you tweak it right, forget hazers. Never use them again.
Really?
Just use that tool. Dude, it was that plus a little, like my other friend has a plugin called well, the people who make Filmbox have one called Scatter. And then my friends, this is annoying. He's my friend, I should know it. His company's called Chromatica. What's it called? DigiDiff.
Okay.
And he modeled a bunch of diffusions. So like that haze thing plus the diffusion plugin, like you can very realistically figure out your own.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
When we did, I did a show for the BBC called The Fall, and season 2 came along, and I'm like, this is great. Season 2, your one instruction is just make Gillian look great. Gillian Anderson, just flatter Gillian Anderson, make her, she's the center of the show. So myself and my girlfriend, who's going to be the colorist on the show, we shot some tests with various filters, brought them in, and she literally like honed down the different aspects of different filters, and we built a diffusion just for Gillian. So we just keyed her face, and she does a particular, I don't know, it was like 20% of this and 10% of that, and a bit of Mitchell and a bit of Glimmer Glass, whatever. But yeah, it was amazing that you can do all that stuff.
I gotta say, me and my girlfriend are rewatching the X-Files, and I was reminded of who my first crush was.
It's funny, yeah. She's good.
Phenomenal actress, yeah. I don't think she's made a bad anything.
Yeah, I never watched the X-Files. I don't really know her,
Brother, phenomenal show. I mean, I don't, if you like a sci-fi show, it's not horrifically sci-fi. It is more, I don't know. I mean, it lasted 11 seasons. It thread the needle. What was that?
Yeah. I think I saw 1 or 2 episodes when it came out, and it just, I think I was busy being in college and doing life, and just, I didn't watch TV for years.
Yeah. To your point about making people look good and stuff, obviously the opening scene of Eternity is supposed to be reality.
Yeah.
And it's shot in a way that's a little more traditional. You guys use spherical on that one? Yeah.
It's funny. Initially we were going to have a different aspect ratio, and then you come to the afterlife, it all kind of open up and go anamorphic. And then there's a bit of, producers are a bit nervous about it. They're like, we don't need to do that. And we discussed going black and white. So we sort of shot with black and white in mind.
Mm.
And then there's a whole thing about A24. So look, here's the deal. If you open with black and white, once it goes to streaming, it'll get less viewers. People will watch 10 seconds ago. I'm not watching black and white. So he said, do you want to do that? So we literally had no plan to look until we got into the grade. And David was like, what about this from the Day Trippers you brought a reference? Can we make it look like that? And our colors, Dave Tomac was like, there you go. And I said, thinking, I don't really like this. I don't like this look at all. But they were so enthused. And it's Dave's film. I was like, well, I'm just going to go with this because even though I don't like it, it really helps the rest of the film.
Yeah.
You know, it's appropriate for them. So it's not pretty looking. It's not photographically that interesting. It's a bit milky and noisy, but it works. So, this whole thing about planning stuff, that was completely unplanned. I was just like a 5-minute conversation in the grade, and let's go this way.
Well, and also it does do, everything is contrast, right? Everything. And so by having that first, the sort of technicolorness almost of the afterlife definitely pops more.
Exactly. It's very funny. The actor who plays the old Larry, Barry, he's like about 90s, but very elderly, whatever. And he came up to me and goes, oh, you're Irish, huh? I went, yeah. He said, I did a film in Ireland. And I said, oh, what film did you do? It's called The Blue Max. And I said, oh, my dad was in that. My dad was an actor. I said, would you know him? I knew everybody. I know who your dad is. Who's your dad? I said, Niall O'Brien. Yeah, never heard of him. Walked off.
It's sweet. But to your point about given people of a certain vintage a little bit of love, I was interested in kind of what the visual approach was to shooting young people, objectively young hot people, in a way that didn't feel objectifying. Like they're young hot people, but they're supposed to be 90. Was there conversations about how to thread that needle visually?
Not really. That was all done with performance,
Costumes.
I mean, I wanted them to look a little bit movie starry. The films we were talking about from the past, movie stars look like movie stars.
Right.
So we kind of were leaning into that a bit, without overdoing it. So they're young hot people. We're young hot people. You can relate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
One of them too.
Can't walk down the street in Los Angeles. This guy.
I tell you, I can see those paparazzi guys in the window of your shoulder.
Yep.
Yeah. So I just lit them. I didn't want to get into that whole thing about kind of put a hard light on them or unflatter them or whatever. I just thought that'll all work with the performance. I think it becomes quite tricky as well sometimes if you have this sometimes when theory and practice meet, it doesn't always work.
Right.
So you have these great ideas. When you take them to the floor, you're like, well, to achieve that, whatever, everyone's got to, I don't know, do things that don't help with the drama or with the performance, or they become impractical. So it can be quite careful imposing those things. You've got to be careful about imposing those things. So I just thought, we'll just light it all like it's an old-fashioned movie, And yes, they were young and hot. The makeup artist, Lizzie's makeup artist, went one day and she went, Lizzie looks so good.
She got good skin.
I'm going to tell you something. It's not my work, but also it's not your work. She just looks amazing.
I'm not going to lie. My sister's big into the whole, she's like internet famous for skincare stuff. And I've started to go in my, getting into my late 30s really? Going, should I start? This is kind of dry. Can you give me something for this? It's not even vanity. I'm just I'm on camera at least once a week. I'm like, this looks like shit. I need someone help me, dude.
This is the life. Don't worry, AI will just do it for you. Just put a little button on and it'll clean you up in no time.
Yeah. I did want to ask about the, obviously, like we said, the main thing happens in the junction, but then you go elsewhere, you go outside, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but you maintained that look of kind of fake reality. I'm thinking about the forest and the mountains. They looked real, but at the same time, they looked idealized. And I was wondering how you kind of pulled that off.
We we found very beautiful locations. They're British Columbia is sort of stunning. So everything feels a bit heightened. And when you're there, it's a bit like, am I in a real place? And then we just, we didn't lean to anything artificial particularly. But I think, you got those lenses do a bit of work for you, the Greg's a bit of work, and then the locations themselves are kind of stunning. And like we found that cabin that we shot the Mantle of Eternity kind of last bit in, it just looks like it was built for a film. It's not, it's just a cabin in Vancouver, which apparently loads of shows do that.
I guess that was going to be my question, is how much of that was set work, but damn.
No, that's a cabin which apparently like loads of kind of TV shows have been shot at, and there's a fireplace inside, and someone said there's like a famous 4-hour clip of burning logs that you can find on YouTube, and they play it on like the Christmas Fire channel, and someone went, "This is the fireplace." They're like, "Oh, I've finally reached, like, this is the movie star itself, this fireplace."
Yeah.
And weirdly, I was in a post house. My girlfriend's working in a place called Goldcrest, and I went in last week. They're having like a little Christmas wine and cheese party, and the TV was on. They're playing the fireplace. I was like, I shot that very fireplace.
You're like, you want to see behind the scenes of the fireplace?
Yeah, exactly. I can get you an autograph. So we didn't really, it was more leaning into just the kind of the old-fashioned screwball comedy Hollywood glamour look than artificiality, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
People had cosmetic light and, a little bit of backlight and all that kind of stuff. Maybe more than I would normally use.
Yeah, I've been kind of sensitive to an artificial backlight, but I don't think I even necessarily clocked it. I mean, obviously there's a few like moments that definitely had that Hollywood, like, I was going to say overlit, but I didn't mean that. I'm like, just like polished,
didn't it?
Yeah, like hero shots. But overall, yeah, it all, I guess what I'm dancing around is like, how do I do that? How do I make how did you thread that needle? I want to be able to light like that.
I mean, it's just taste, isn't it? Like if I'm doing a job and then I'm trying to pick a colorist, right? I always go, I don't want someone technical. I want someone with taste. I don't care who it is, but if I get hit by a bus and I can't make it, I want someone with taste to fill in. And so it's just developing your own taste. I had a really great rapper, Sean Rooney, who was really helpful. I don't know. Like I know a lot of people work with formulas and they go like, key to fill and this much backlight. I'm so terrible on technical stuff. I don't do that. My plans are very loose because I'm so used to directors who you turn up on the day and you go, we're not doing that. So my planning's quite loose because I've been so kind of let down before.
Yeah.
So I don't use a light meter. I just I've got this thing I use called a monitor.
Yeah.
And it's much better because that's what it's going to look like in the end. So it's, and I find very often to the gaffer, can we set a little bit more in from that side? Let me just take that down a little bit, I try and keep it very untechnical because I'm not good at the technical stuff at all. I remember those days of shooting on film, you'd be like, oh, we're doing 50 frames, that's a stop. And then we're doing another shot, that's a stop. And then we're doing another, like, just walking around, like, can't hear my fingers. And I'm so dead it's gone. Now I just have a monitor. I look at that and I go, okay, bit darker.
See, that's the thing that has been spooking me, I think, in my career is I also was like, I still am light meter guy. And more importantly, I'm color meter guy because I don't get control of the scene usually. So like being able to match stuff like accurately instead of just going number in the back.
Right.
That must be right. But lighting to the monitor is still scary to me. Because I don't know why, but it's like, what if it doesn't? It's like objectively showing you that's what it looks like. And I'm like, but what if it's not?
Yeah, but even if the monitor isn't properly calibrated, even if it's like 10% too bright or too dark, you can get that look in the grade. It'll be close enough. As long as no one's messing with the monitor between setups, you're kind of fine. And I just think it's, I guess it's just what I'm used to, even 709 on a little monitor on top of the camera, once you go, that's what I'm looking at. You just get used to that all day. I find like light mirrors they're obviously a great invention for the time, but they're the most unintuitive tool ever.
Sure.
It's like It is like painting a picture with a blindfold on. You know, it's
Yeah.
or painting a picture in grey and knowing the color will appear later. It's kind of a weird exercise, and it's a great safety blanket. It's great for recce's to go, well, I have enough light when I get here, but I use mine most as a fashion accessory to impress girls. It's
Yeah. I was on this commercial a couple of weeks ago, and the DP had the little gaffer glass.
Oh
And
yeah,
I was like, is that just to let everyone know you're the DP? Because although we did have like 20 cases, like we had like traditional
yeah,
big ass
yeah,
tungsten lights on that. So maybe there was a little more use for it, but I
yeah,
hadn't seen one in a while.
yeah. I mean, they're great for sky watching. Like I said, in Ireland it changes all the time. So you spend your whole time going, is there a gap? Is there a gap? There's a gap coming. Okay, everyone go. Um, but yeah, like I have light meters, and they're just like long neglected friends that live in a drawer upstairs.
Yeah.
I brought my light meter to Vancouver and I lost it in prep.
Oh shit.
And yeah, I'm like, that's an expensive thing to lose. And I'm like, oh, I don't really use it. So I got my backup light meter over, and I was like, but yeah, I think the monitor is the modern version of the light meter.
Yeah. Well, and with false color, I mean, that's just a spot meter that is more definitive.
My girlfriend tried to teach me to use a waveform. I'm like, oh, this is so unintuitive.
The fact that, I mean, this is what I'm always telling people when I'm like, the tools, just go make your fucking movie. Cause like,
Yeah.
only having the waveform between film and the tools we have now is incredible. Like all it really tells you is where there is or isn't light.
Yeah.
Like the up and down is like, it just tells you where. It doesn't really help. It tells you if the sensor's getting enough data, which, okay, that's good. But
it's
I don't use it.
But it's like, people show you camera tests and they show you a color chart and they show you like a chart per resolution. No one makes films about those things. They make films about faces. If you don't know if you like a camera or a lens, just shoot some faces,
That brings up a good question, because I am sick of seeing camera tests when you are shown them, where it's the same like Panavision hallway where they get the chart, right. They got the twinkle lights, they got some random representative actor who's really just a PA or somebody's friend.
Yeah.
And it's how do you run tests?
I don't really like tests. I do them.
Really?
Yeah, I do the tests, and I find myself getting really frustrated and kind of confused. Like, well, what are we doing? And I go to watch them like, oh, this is horrible. I should have paid more attention when I was shooting them. So like, in fact, when we were doing this movie, they wanted me to shoot tests with the actors and all that. And I called Robbie Ryan and I'm like, Robbie, you've done films for A24. You've done, what are they expecting from the tests? And he went, they won't even watch them. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Just do what you want to do. So we use them to kind of just work some stuff out with a lot. But
sure.
Like, yeah, like great for costume and hair and makeup, I guess. I don't know what you learn as a DP from a test, really.
I suppose what the lens is doing, but
yeah, the best way I found to look at a lens is to project it, which I'd never done until recently. And you go, oh, okay, it's sharp to here and soft to there, and you stuck down. Okay, but it's weird. All the lens wisdom. Like I remember when I started off, I heard that cooks were warm and Zeiss were cool. So I got a set of each, and I tested them. It was the opposite around. The cooks were cooler than the Zeiss. I remember going to the color screen. No, hang on. We checked the charts. We checked set on the screen where it was. You're like, oh, so that's wrong. So, but then how warm or cool are they? Like not ungradably so. It's fractional.
Well, and to your point about like not getting too technical, I've certainly fallen into the trap, and I know a lot of people do, where you do hear stuff like that, and then you go, but is it? And then you get so in the weeds about finding the objective truth about anything that you lose track of the whole point. Where you're like, and especially having to explain, you'll get like some producer in front of you or director, whoever, who had a really good experience with whatever, a set of lenses. And you're like, actually, we could save some money if we do these. They look exactly the same. They don't want to hear that.
Right.
They're like, this worked for me once. I don't care if this is objectively better. I don't care about objectively better. I want to feel safe, and I know I like it. We can focus on the film from there.
Yeah. someone said to me a few years ago, they're like, oh, I'm going to get this month's American Cinematographer and read about how they decoded some lenses or uncoded some lenses. He's like, everyone always says they did it in some article. Every month, someone's like, yeah, we did this thing with, I'm like, but you're that for 30 years. Like, there's only so much you can say or do. Obviously, we need, I prefer good lenses to bad lenses, but I'd rather shoot a good movie on cheap lenses than, have the most amazing glass and a terrible script. And say a movie like something that Roger Deakins shot, I don't know, like, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Which he shot in Cook S4s. If he'd shot them on, I don't know, super speeds, would we go, what a terrible movie? Well, we wouldn't notice the difference, really. There'd be a difference, but like you said, unless you're A-Bing them, it's pretty marginal.
Yeah. Where is it? I had another thought. Do have to let you go here soon, though, which sucks. Man. I know, it goes by so fast. That was going to be, that's what I was going to say was, earlier just talking about, going with the flow and stuff. Were there any, technical challenges that you were able to overcome, something where you're like, this isn't working. And then, because I always love hearing these stories of like, we were up against this huge problem and then simplicity won out or, whatever.
The biggest thing was there's a scene up the mountains where Lizzie and Callum have this kind of heart to heart and, she's talking about her grandkids and in the script, it was supposed to be the setting sun, this golden light. It's all the script about, And we got there and I was like, there's no way to control the light. We're on the side of a mountain. And it's going to be like super contrasty. And I said to David, can we wait till the sun's gone down and shoot it really quickly, like in 20 minutes? Which is kind of a nuts thing to do in the first week with two actors having worked together before.
Yeah.
They went, okay. So we did it and we get there and we're waiting and the sun looked amazing. The producer comes over, he goes, why aren't we shooting? I'm like, well, we're waiting for this to go away. And I just stood there thinking, I'm probably getting fired tomorrow. Anyway, we got the scene, shot it, like skin of the teeth stuff. Got like, I think 5 shots in 25 minutes. Running around like lunatics. Actors took in their game. And then the next day I went to check the dailies and the colorist had like brightened everything up. I was like, what have you done? He said, I cut you off the light. No, put it back. So that was just one of those things where like I was literally going, I think I may have made a really fatal decision and sunk my own career here.
Yeah.
But by the time you realize it's, it's too late to change course, you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm stuck with it now.
Yeah. Does that strong relationship with the colorist allow you to, like I was saying earlier, like coloring my own stuff, I'll be like, no, I can take that down in the grade. Like, do you operate like that on set? You're like, I know we can, telling people like, I know we can fix that. Don't worry about it. Let's move.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of experience going, we don't need to worry about that. We can spend 20 minutes fixing it now, or we can spend 30 seconds doing it later, And then there's other times where people go, we can fix that later. You go, no, we can't. We're going to need to spend a few minutes on this. And that's kind of what you're paid for, isn't it? To make that, able to judge those things, Someone said to me once, you are the photography expert on set. That's what your job is. You're the expert. You make the calls. Well, okay. But once you look at it that way, okay, I will make these calls with some kind of confidence.
Yeah, that was one that took me a minute, was advocating for what I needed and not trying to help the line producer so much.
It's hard. Sometimes you're like, man. It's funny. I've done so many jobs where like, can we please shoot this at this time of day? And like so many TV jobs, it just never works out. And the final shot of Eternity, where they're walking off for the sunset, we had a location. I was like, nope, I want a street that faces into the sun. So we walked around for half an hour. We found this street. I'm like, I want this street. I went, okay. And I was like, oh yeah. And you need to build a tunnel in the middle of it, because obviously they come out of this tunnel. Right. And I was like, am I being a complete ass? But it's the final shot of the movie and it's great and it works. And then of course it was the same thing. We waited for the sun to get low and we got 2 takes that were perfect, and then the third take, the sun just disappeared. So it was 2 hours of waiting, 3 minutes of shooting.
That's classic filmmaking right there.
It ages you.
Yeah. We'll definitely, I'm glad this worked out. Me
too.
Like I said, man, I walked out of that film last month and it was just like, so like, I just watched a real fucking movie. We did it. Like I was very,
I had the highest compliment.
Yeah, I was hanging out. I'm gonna name drop. I was hanging out with my buddy Joey and Adam Savage, and I was telling him we were talking about movies, and I was like, "Bro, you got to watch Eternity. That thing was great." And he was like, "Okay, all right." So I'll let you know if he sees it.
Right. Oh, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, man. And yeah, I'll definitely be in touch.
Great. All right. Talk again.
Awesome. Take care, brother.
Bye.
Frame and Reference is an Owlbot production, produced and edited by me, Kenny McMillan. If you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to frameandrefpod.com and clicking on the Patreon button. It's always appreciated, and as always, thanks for listening.